Good day everyone and welcome to e-sipnayan. So for today's video, I'm going to be discussing amortization. But of course, before anything else, please don't forget to like and subscribe to e-sipnayan so that you'll get notified with our new videos. Hopefully at the end of this lesson, you will be able to compute interest involving mortgage, amortization, services, deposits, and loans. So to get us started, let us define what a mortgage is. So a mortgage is the biggest loan that you can possibly have. It is usually obtained if ever you're going to get a house and lot, or even machinery, equipment, a car, or etc. So whatever purchase that would need a big loan, a mortgage is probably involved with this one. And if we have big purchases such as this one, an amortization schedule may be needed. An amortization schedule is a table that gives all of the details of each payment, such as the amount to be paid, the portion of the payment on each interest, the portion of the payment per the debt loan amount, and the balance after the payment. But to determine the monthly payment on each period, this formula is needed. So A is equal to PR times the quantity of 1 plus R raised to N over the quantity of 1 plus R raised to N minus 1. So A in this formula is the monthly payment, P is the principal, which is the amount to be borrowed, R is our monthly interest, and N stands for the total number of payments. To get us started, let us try this example. Show the amortization schedule for a loan of 80,000 pesos and an interest rate of 5% payable in 6 periods. So in creating our amortization schedule, it is important to compute first for the monthly payment. And we know that the monthly payment is with the formula A is equal to PR times 1 plus R raised to N over 1 plus R raised to N minus 1. So let us identify the values that are given here in our problem. We know that the principal, or the amount to be borrowed, is 80,000 pesos. While the interest rate is R is equal to 5% or 0.05. And the periods, or the number of times payment will be made, is 6. Now let us try to substitute the following values. We have A is equal to 80,000 times 0.05 times 1 plus 0.05 raised to 6 over 1 plus 0.05 raised to 6 minus 1. So in simplifying this using your calculators, you will get a monthly payment of 15,761.39745. So I use here 5 decimal places just to make sure that the balance at the end of 6 periods is 0. So take note of this monthly payment because each period we will be using this value. So after we have computed for our monthly payment, let us proceed in creating our amortization schedule. So the amortization schedule would include the payment period, the amount of payment, payment on interest, payment on principal, and the balance. So the first thing to fill in our table would be the payment period. We know that the payment period would include 6 periods. This would mean that the customer would have to pay 6 times to get a 0 balance. So I'm going to be filling it in by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then lastly, I will be putting here the total. I put the space here for the balance later on. Okay? As for the amount of payment, each period would include the monthly payment that we have computed earlier, which is 15,761.39745. So this is the constant monthly payment to be made for each period. So I'm going to copy each value for every row. And then after that we have filled this in, the column of the amount of payment, we can add this all up to get a total amount of payment. So the sum would be 94,568.3847. So now that we have filled in the first two columns, let us proceed to filling out the rest of our amortization schedule. So the next step is to fill in the balance. So while there is no payment to be made yet, of course the balance would be 80,000 pesos, which is the principal of this problem. And then after this one, we need to fill in the payment on interest. Now the payment on interest will be dependent always on the previous balance. So our previous balance is 80,000 pesos. Now to determine the payment on interest, we need to multiply the interest rate, which is 5%. So this would become 80,000 times 0.05, which is equal to 4,000 pesos. So the 4,000 will be written here in this row. So this means that the interest to be paid in the first period is 4,000 pesos. But this 4,000 pesos is already included in the amount of payment every month. Again, 4,000 pesos is already included in the monthly payment. So this just indicates that the 4,000 here in 15,761.39745 is given in the payment on interest. But now to figure out how much of the payment was included in paying the principal amount, we just need to subtract 15,761.39745 minus 4,000 pesos, which is equal to 11,761.3975. Again, each monthly payment would include the payment on the interest and as well as the payment on the principal. So to determine the balance, we just need to subtract 80,000 pesos with 11,761.3975 to figure out how much of the balance needed to be paid. So subtracting this one, we have 68,238.6255. So we're going to be writing this here. Okay, so we're just going to be repeating the same process. Again, we need to get the 5% of the previous balance to determine the payment on interest. In doing so, we have 68,238.60255 times 0.05, which we have 3,411.90. And this means that part of monthly payment would include 3,411.90 for a payment on the interest. And to determine the payment on the principal, simply subtract 15,761.39745 with 3,411.90, which we will get 12,349.46732. And then we're going to be writing this here. As for the balance, we just need to subtract the previous balance, which is 68,238.60255 minus 12,349.46732. 0.46732, which is equal to 55,889.13523. So this is to be written here. So I'm going to be filling in this amortization schedule with the same process again and again until I have a balance of 0. So I'm going to be doing a fast forward of this one, so please stay tuned. So as you can see here in our last row for the balance column, that the balance became 0 after the 6 periods. So that is the goal of an amortization schedule. We need a balance that is 0 by the time of the final payment. So to get the payment on interest, we just need the sum of the following values, and adding them up, we have 14,568.3546. As for the payment of principal, we have 80,000 pesos. So as you notice here in our payment of interest, as the time goes by, the interest value decreases. It's because the interest is always dependent on the previous balance. And the balance should be decreasing as well because there is payment every period. Okay? As the payment on interest decreases, this would mean that majority of the monthly payment would involve paying on the monthly principal. That is why the payment on principal increases as time goes by. Okay, now if I add the payment on principal, the sum would have to be the principal that the customer has loaned in the problem. So that is all for today's video. I hope that you learned a lot, and thank you for watching e-sipnayan, and see you in our next video. Thank you for watching!